Hey, Locker Room. I am here to review all of our new July sessions. There are a couple new moves that I want to make sure that I review with you so that you have all of the form cues you need to maximize these exercises and get the most out of them. Some of them, just from watching the video demos, won't tell you very specific things to look for. So I'd like to do that here. I'm going to share my screen so we can take a look at the download together. So your download cover looks like this. And as you scroll down, all the usual stuff, a note from me, then you get into a quote and this month's calendar. So let's jump into some of these workouts. So dumbbell supersets, as you probably know, a superset is just 2 exercises paired back to back with no rest in between. So each of these exercise pairs will be completed one right after the next. Once you finish the second one, you can rest for about 30 seconds up to a minute, just so you can come back to the initial exercise and repeat it again with the same power output. The first exercise that I'd like to take a look at, which I'm going to actually open the video demo here, is the dumbbell high pull. So we have seen the dumbbell upright row in the past. I don't think we need all of this volume. So let's look at this high pull. What I want you to think about when you do this exercise is pulling to either side of your face. You're not leading with the elbows. You're actually leading with the hands with this exercise. You should feel this engagement in your shoulders for sure and in your back. So let's take a look and see the execution here. I want to encourage you to use some momentum as you kind of pull your head through in between the dumbbells. And you should really be feeling the burn in the shoulders here. Deadlift, you're pretty familiar with. The other exercise that I wanted to review is this dumbbell kneeling curl and press. So let's take a look at that real quick. And let's find it. I think it's at the end. Sorry about all the noise. All right, so you're in a high kneeling position. As you can tell, the top of my back foot is on the floor. My knee is directly underneath my hip, and my front foot is at roughly 90 degrees. This back kneeling position is going to force your glute to have to be engaged. So this can be a sneaky exercise. While you're working the upper body, we're focusing on the biceps and the shoulders with the curl and the press, but you want to make sure that this L shape is going directly behind you and the top of that foot is on the floor. That's going to help you get some extra glute engagement with that exercise. So let's X out of there and let's move on to the next workout. All of these exercises are structured in a superset format. You're repeating them 3 times in a row before you move on to the next ones. Here we have a full body HIIT workout. As you know, HIIT workouts are typically the built for her staple. The Russian squat, there's really nothing too complicated to review there. We haven't seen that exercise before in Locker Room. All you're doing is coming down into a body weight squat and tapping the opposite foot on the way up. Everything here is pretty self-explanatory. You see the set range here from 5 to 6. I'd like you to aim for 5 at the beginning of the month and definitely work your way up to 6 towards the end. Always, your video demos are here. Take a look at those executions. Sometimes I call things similar names as other people, but the execution can be slightly different. Here we have a 20-minute AMRAP. The exercises here are also pretty straightforward. A lot of kneeling position exercises here. As I mentioned before, with that high kneeling position with 1 foot forward, any kneeling structure for exercises, your knees should be directly underneath your hips. Give yourself a little distance. It's going to give you a little bit of stability. And then both of the tops of your feet should be planted on the floor. That's going to help your glute engagement. And make sure that you tip your hips underneath you just a bit so you don't get tension building up in your low back. Let's see what else we have here. So I have made some notes. This is a dumbbell or a plate pullover. I want you to try to get your head and your shoulders as far off of the mat as you can. That's going to engage your core, protect your low back, if you're doing this exercise, make sure that your low back feels completely glued to the floor. That's going to happen by lifting the head and the shoulders up and looking down towards the hips. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Let's just take a look at the dumbbell chopper. We don't see that very often, and we will review some things to look for there. So let's just fast forward all the way to that chopper. Where are you? I think. Okay, so I think the dumbbell chopper's back here. Why is this video being so slow? Well, let's give up on it. So I'll just tell you verbally. The standing chopper, what I want you to look for here is the pivot heading in one direction with the back foot. And then when you twist up to bring that dumbbell or that plate up into the twisting position, the other ankle or the other foot should rotate. So look for the foot rotations when you can get that video to pull up, as apparently I couldn't. And I think everything else here, you should be pretty familiar with. Your cardio intervals can be anything from jump rope, high knees, sprint intervals, bike intervals, elliptical, stairs, anything that's high intensity, because your intervals are only 20 seconds long and you're getting 20 seconds to recover. So make it worth your while. Pick something that's challenging. Don't just pick the easiest form of cardio just to get it over with. We're trying to really challenge ourselves here. You are going to do 5 rounds of this circuit, and then you're going to repeat the intervals for 8 rounds after you've completed all 5 rounds of your full body circuit. So the full body compound exercises, you have 8 reps of a sumo up and over. It's a sumo stance with a single dumbbell going from one shoulder to the next. Everything else is pretty self-explanatory here. This dumbbell pullover to standing position. This exercise is pretty complicated because not only requires strength, but it requires a ton of mobility. Ankle mobility specifically. You're going to need some calf mobility. You're going to need some mobility in through your low back. If you can't get all of these pieces together, pulling the dumbbell overhead, getting to a standing position, and then that optional press directly overhead, break it into pieces. So do 8 dumbbell pullovers, then go ahead, and if you need some assistance here, use either a TRX. I want you to try to get to a standing position and then just do the pressing overhead for 8 rounds. So you can dissect this exercise if you can't get from pulling the dumbbell overhead all the way into that standing position. Like I said, it's not all about strength. There's a lot of mobility that's needed here. And if you need any help modifying that exercise any further, I would be so happy to do that for you. So any other questions that you guys have that I didn't review here, please, please, please shoot me an email. It's coach@builtforher.com. I'm trying to pump out some new and interesting moves on a regular basis to keep you guys entertained. Try to stay as consistent as you can with these sessions. You know, seeing progress isn't about a, mass amount of effort up front. It's about consistent effort over time. So I'm always here to answer your questions, whether it be about nutrition, form, modifications, any of the above. So I hope you enjoy July. I'm looking forward to hearing back about how you like these sessions, and I will talk to you soon.